Hi there, football fans, and welcome back to another edition of Griz Tracks. I'm AJ Mazzolini, beat reporter for the Missoulian.
I'm Kyle Sample, Missoulian sports reporter.
And the Griz will be hosting Eastern Washington this Saturday at 1:30 kickoff in Washington Grizzly Stadium in another must-win game against a team that historically, in the last couple of years, has been very good in the Big Sky. The last couple of weeks, maybe not so good. So it'll be an interesting matchup to see these two teams coming in, both of them needing a win now, with Eastern coming off a loss against Northern Arizona and not playing the way they want to. Griz also not playing the way they want to.
Yeah, it's like you said, interesting situation with only 2 weeks left in the conference, and it seems like everybody but Southern Utah needs a win to solidify what they're doing with their postseason hopes.
Yeah, and whoever did the schedule making this year for the Big Sky deserves a raise because all of the teams that are still in the playoff hunt are all playing each other in the last 2 weeks, some of them twice. So it'll be a really fun one to watch this thing go down to the wire. And it all starts this weekend, obviously, with the Griz facing Eastern Washington, a team that's going to throw the ball a lot. And the beginning of Montana's schedule seemed all set up with run-heavy teams. In the last couple weeks here, all the pass-heavy teams, because Eastern is leading the entire nation in passing yards. And they have Cooper Kupp out on the outside, who is maybe the most dangerous receiver FCS has ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know what his numbers are. I think I saw him yesterday, and they're 100
catches even, yeah.
18 touchdowns. He's just going to distance himself so far from the receivers that have been in that system, who are good receivers. They had 3 guys in NFL camps a few years ago, and 1 actually declared as a junior. So they've had really good receivers, and he has just completely separated himself, not only from them, but he's starting to get into the territory of Jerry Rice's production in AA and what Randy Moss did during his time at Marshall also.
Yeah, the career numbers are just so far out there. It's astonishing, and he's got 2 games left this season. Who knows if he's going to come back for senior? As you mentioned, they have a history of some of their big offensive threats leaving early. And I mean, you can't imagine that he's got a lot to prove left at the college game if he's got a good chance to be drafted high. But he's not the only guy in that offense, and that's kind of amazing, honestly, with the number of touchdowns he's got. His quarterback, Jordan West, has 30 touchdown passes on the year. And although he's been struggling the last couple weeks, he's got a lot of threats on the outside. Kendrick Bourne has a bunch of touchdowns as well. And a couple games when Cooper's not having his all-world stats, Bourne's been there as well, a lot of 100-yard games, and boy, just all of the yards.
And Bo is just so smart in how he uses these and how the routes are structured and how they're able to get players open. Like you said, they're still leading the nation, I think, in passing yards.
Yeah, 370 yards a game.
Their offense is producing points. But the biggest difference this year is that they don't have the rushing attack that they had last year. They don't have Quincy Forte anymore. They've lost, I think, 70 yards per game in their rushing totals, and that was something that they talked about and that opposing coaches talked about last year, was that if you wanted to stop them, you really had to take Forte out, and the last 2 weeks, only 70 yards, and they've not really produced a whole lot of offense.
Not really produced at all. 2 weeks before even that loss against Northern Arizona, barely squeaking out a win, 14-13 against Weber. And obviously the Griz lost to Weber as well, so not a team to shake your head at by any means, but 14 points for an Eastern Washington team seems like the first quarter a lot of the times. And Jordan West has been the quarterback, and there's been talk this week that they might go to a true freshman, or redshirt freshman, Riley Hennessy, give him some time as well. And at the beginning of the year, those guys were pretty much neck and neck to replace Vernon Adams. So both teams in this one are not sure who's going to be playing quarterback, basically.
Right, and it might be the time when Eastern says Riley Hennessy is our guy, because he was highly recruited coming out of high school. He was a Washington Gatorade Player of the Year. He is a little bit more like Vernon Adams in the fact that he can scramble a little bit, he can extend plays, and that's not something that Jordan West has been great at. So he might actually fit their offense more, and who knows? I mean, this might be the week where they just say, this is our guy going forward.
Yeah, so it'll be weird to see that because the Griz are doing a very similar thing. McKenna Simis, kind of in line maybe to make his fourth start here. At least, Stead has been pretty quiet on who he's going to go with. Has just sort of commented that Simis needs to make better decisions than Gustafson. He's hoping will be ready. And Gustafson has been in practice for a couple weeks now, coming back from that leg injury, and both of them have been taking snaps in practice this week. So we're not sure really who's going to be starting there either.
And last week I had a feeling that Gustafson was going to get in the game. He didn't. This week I really feel like it because he was, Stitt said he was his guy when the season started, and he's been pretty open this week about how he scaled back the offense after Challenge took over, and then especially after Simmons took over. And these are vital important games for this team. Not only because they're against their biggest rivals, but because they need them for their playoff hopes.
You lose one, it's over basically.
Right,
so.
and if you're going to put your saddle on your best horse, Gustafson was the best to start the season at least.
Yeah, and then the only question, I guess, why they wouldn't do that is just more change to the offense. Because even if you're going to revert back to an offense that Stitt liked better, thought was clicking better, you still have to change from what you've been doing. And that's been so difficult for this offense, who has just continually had to adjust to a new quarterback coming in. So really the quarterbacks, I mean, that's going to be the highlight of this week, the biggest thing to watch. And whichever team can have better quarterback play is probably going to be the one that comes out on top. Because the Grizz only have one game left after this, Brawl the Wild in Bozeman next week against the Bobcats. So that game will have a lot more riding on it, obviously, if the Grizz can pull one out this weekend. Again, that game is 1:30 kickoff on Saturday. So make sure to stay tuned all week and get your Grizz on Missoulian.com and watch Griz Tracks every week. Thanks for tuning in this week.